Sabah everybody and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to do an unboxing and initial impressions of the brand new OnePlus 7T. This is the latest and greatest device coming out from OnePlus, and specifically not Pro model. The Pro model will be coming out in Europe as well as in Asia. But for the US market, we finally have an upgrade to the OnePlus 6T and the OnePlus 7 that technically never came to the US. We're going to check out what comes in the reviewer's box, all the goodies, as well as obviously the device with all the new specifications that were announced earlier today. This is TK. Let's check it out. Like and subscribe, and make sure you hit that bell icon so that you're always notified whenever we have new videos on the channel. So here we have the reviewer's package, never settle. And of course, as within normal OnePlus nature, the box is always unique. It opens up on the side like this. We have a nice little booklet here that just gives us some of the highlights about the brand new OnePlus 7T. Again, this is the 7T, not the 7T Pro. And of course, we have the phone here and an extra piece here. So it says this is the OnePlus 7T. It's a culmination of all of our design and engineering efforts and crafted for those who, like us, always strive for the very best. The other thing you probably noticed here is that the box is a little bit longer than what we normally see. And of course, we have a few other goodies here. We have a nice little booklet inside that box, as well as a couple of chamois to keep our device clean. So first thing, here we go. We pull out the device. Again, the box is a little bit longer. I haven't had a chance to really open it up yet, but essentially this is going to be the phone. And of course, right under that, we saw the brand new Bullets Wireless. I think these are the Wireless 2. So yeah, these are the Bullets Wireless 2, which we saw originally launching with the brand new OnePlus 7 Pro earlier this year. So we definitely get a pair here. These are some of the best pairs of headphones that I've used. Charge really fast, a lot faster than the first version. But not only that, have some great audio since they actually support aptX HD out of the box, as well as a very long battery life and of course quick charging. Now on the right side, we have a nice little, what it seems to be like a booklet. It looks like a basically a leather bound notebook, and yeah, it says never settle on it, and it's essentially just a nice little notebook to be able to write on. And of course, last but not least, we have 3 cases here made specifically for the OnePlus 7T. And as you can see already, that the actual design on the camera setup in the back has definitely changed. We now have a circular camera module in the back, and we'll get a chance to see some of the new updates that they did there. So there we have it. We have the phone, the Bullets Wireless 2, and the 3 cases. We'll start off with the Bullets Wireless 2. Again, as I mentioned to you guys, these are some of the best headphones that you can find on the market. And I'll link you guys a video that we did on this earlier this year. But again, great pair of headphones. If you're picking up the brand new OnePlus 7T, make sure you check that out, and check out the coupon that I'll include for you guys in the description below to be able to save money on your pickup of your new device as well. So let's go ahead and check this out. And here they are. Now they have them already encased within this box, and of course we just need to open it up on this side. There's a little pull tab, and we get to see the actual bullets. This is just some instruction manual information here, and they're inside this packaging right here. So as you can see, the color is definitely very new. The design is very familiar. We still have that one button to turn on and turn off, the charging port, and of course the microphone that's sitting right above it. Actually, I think that's the LED if I'm not mistaken. If I'm not mistaken here, the microphone should be present right there with the initiation button as well as for the assistant, and of course volume up, volume down, and they are magnetic. Keep in mind, if you're using this with a OnePlus 7 Pro or OnePlus 7 device, putting them on and separating them will initiate the pause and play. Every time you separate, they'll play. Put them together, they'll pause. So looking over the actual guide that we got here, is some of the main things that we're talking about is obviously this is an unparalleled product. This is basically what they're talking about, the brand new OnePlus 7T and the new design that they're going with this display. First and foremost, this is a fluid AMOLED display at 90 Hertz, obviously similar to the one we saw with the OnePlus 7 Pro earlier this year. We are still going to have a notch, so no pop-up cameras unfortunately, but we are going to have HDR10 support, as well as the fact that we have a 20:9 aspect ratio. A better brightness display so that we don't have any eye strain, so obviously better for reading features, brighter and more comfortable. Now as far as the design, as I mentioned to you guys, we did change from what we used to have before. We now actually have a triple camera setup on the back, even on the OnePlus 7, that's the OnePlus 7T. So the 7 Pro already had that, and now we have it of course present here. And we also have the matte frosted glass on the back. The camera setup we now have essentially is a 48 megapixel that's at f1.6 aperture with OIS. We have a 12 megapixel with 2x optical zoom at f2.2, and of course an ultra wide lens, the 16 megapixel there at 117 degrees wide angle view. So basically a very nice camera setup, very nice. That I'm happy that we're seeing them. Although would love to be able to see that, actually be able to use all 3 of these lenses in video. And we have some more information here, but we'll get into the device of course. Last but not least, we have the ability of using a macro option here, since we have that wide photography, that wide angle lens, and up to 2.5 centimeters away. So definitely very nice for macro photography. Nightscape, of course, we have basically an updated version of Nightscape, hopefully improved with Android 10. Of course, we do have the hybrid image stabilization. That's what they're calling the HIS, and that gives us the ability of having some really good stable footage whenever we're taking video. The latest and greatest Snapdragon chipset. This is the Snapdragon 855 Plus, slightly overclocked from what we normally have with the 855. So again, this is what we're seeing with the OnePlus 7T Pro. That the OnePlus 7T Pro has the 855 Plus over the OnePlus 7 Pro that has the 855. Of course, we have a better haptic feedback. This is one of the main complaints a lot of people have had on the OnePlus 7. Well, actually the OnePlus 6T and before line of devices, as the OnePlus 7 did fix the vibration motor. Now, one of the last things they also talked about is that new charger on the OnePlus 7T. It's called the Warp Charge 30T, and it is actually one of the fastest ones that they've put on the device to date. And basically what they're explaining to us here is that it's supposed to be 23% faster, even though it says 18. They did send me a correction with the 3800 milliamp battery, and you're essentially getting up to 70% in just half an hour. That's ridiculous if you're going from a dead battery to 70%. So we'll definitely have to test that out and confirm all of those. Last but not least, we have OS 10 based on Android 10.0. So that's already baked in and no upgrade needed. So right out of the box, you're starting with Android 10. We have some new supported gestures that they're covering here, as well as, of course, an updated version of Zen mode from the last one that we saw, which enables us to not only use it to be able to take a break from doing stuff, but also customize the duration of it so that you're not always locked into a 20-minute duration as it used to be. So here we have the brand new device. We have a pamphlet here that basically just, if I'm not mistaken, it'll be the thank you letter directly from the invitation letter that we have here. We have a few stickers as we always have. This one seems to be new. And of course, just more materials directly from them. And here we have the OnePlus 7T, and this is in frosted or glacier blue. I guess this is the color that we're looking at. Let's see what else we have in the box. They still include a case. This is always included in there, and I always appreciate that. We have a SIM removal tool, as well as a USB-C to USB Type-A. That's going to be the standard OnePlus cable, and of course the brand new Warp 30T charger. So here we have the OnePlus 7T. As you can see right now, the camera setup is in there. We have that circular configuration now. We also have a slightly raised edge here, so you can kind of see it right there. It's raised above from the background, and I think that's probably why a case on this would definitely be helpful, because it should be able to even it out so that we don't have that extra bump sitting there. We have obviously the notification slider sitting here on the right side. We still have that, the power button sitting there. On the left, we have a volume rocker and a couple of antenna bands. At the top, we have one of the microphones and then the other two antenna bands as well. And on the bottom, we have the SIM tray that's capable of supporting 2 SIM cards if you're buying the unlocked version of this device. We have a bottom firing speaker as well as a USB-C port for data, charge, as well as audio. As you can notice, we do not have a 3.5mm headphone jack on this device. The front-facing display is a 1080p display. It's a 6.55-inch display, AMOLED display, that is also supposed to basically have the 20:9 aspect ratio and the 90 Hz refresh rate. So here we are, the latest version of the OnePlus devices, the OnePlus 7T. Now overall, I haven't really set up much other than just turning it on, connecting it to Wi-Fi. Out of the box, it looks like there is an update that needs to be pushed out, and we'll have to download it and installed. We have the new toggles, everything. The gesture system did change a little bit, so you'll notice right there. If I want to be able to go back, we'll go ahead and open it up one more time. If I want to go back, I swipe from the side. Both sides basically end up being the back button. If I want to be able to go home, I just swipe up in the middle to go home, and you'll notice it kind of goes back down. Now, if I want to open up the Recents app, press up and hold, and that takes me into the Recents app. And again, that's just the new part of the new gestures that we have within Android 10.0 on OS 10. As far as the actual configuration, what we have here is just the customization. Again, the update is basically being pushed in. We have Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, the display section. We'll go ahead and go through, and as we talked about it, we have a 90 Hz display. Out of the box, it is turned on, so you just want to keep that in mind. You can change it back to 60 Hz if you notice that the battery consumption is getting a little bit high. We have night mode, of course, reading mode, video enhancer. Those are some of the optimizations that they talked about with the display and what we get here. We have ambient display, font size, display size, status bar, of course, screensaver, and of course, screen auto rotation lock here. We do not have always on display. Unfortunately, we still don't see that. We have an ambient display. As far as customizations, you're able to go in there and customize the wallpaper, and then of course the clock style as far as the lock screen, the fingerprint animation that we get here. So by default, it's there, but we do need to turn that on. So we'll get that in there in a second. Of course, accent color, tone, shape, icon pack, and of course, never sell as far as the font. and it does have a preset theme that's already in there. So you can go in there and customize it if you want to go nuance dark. I guess this would be the dark mode. So I'll go ahead and apply it for a second. They decided to change the name. And like I said, you can also change the custom color here. We have, of course, vibration, sound and vibrations as well as far as button and gestures. That's what we have here. Navigation gestures by default. You have the back, home, and recents, the navigation gesture, and of course hide the bottom bar, and that's what we see here. So I can just hide that right there. There's really no difference between that and the gestures that we had before. And of course a little instructional manual there. Quick activation for Quiz Assistant if you want to be able to use the power button as far as the ability to turn on the assistant. And of course quick gestures, and of course the alert slider, you can customize that as well. One thing I want to mention to you guys, under sound and vibration, we do have Dolby support here for the sound on this device. So definitely very appreciated there. App notifications, of course we can go in there and customize screen time, emergency, special access for apps, so on. We have the privacy section, location, battery. Again, as I mentioned to you guys, we have a 3800 milliamp battery. Out of the box, it does have 56% left. Storage, this one seems to be the 128 gigs of internal storage, and it has 27.47 gigs out of the box. So before you start using anything, 27 gigs have already been used. Of course, accounts, once you start adding your accounts in here, digital well-being and parental control, of course, those are some of the new things that we saw with Android 10.0 are present. Of course, the Google tab. Utilities, these are going to be basically where you have the quick launch functionality, parallel apps, which are supported, app locker, scheduled on and off, OnePlus Switch, which is a great application to be able to actually transfer your data from your old device to your new one. And it will work with basically non-OnePlus devices, of course. We'll go ahead and say all the time. And of course, if you're using this, you can definitely use it to transfer data for you. As far as OnePlus Laboratories, we always have that. The DC dimming is turned on here. If you'd like to be able to activate that, that'll be there. And of course, quick apply in landscape is also turned on. You'll be able to basically customize it. Last but not least, under system, we have accessibility, language input, backup, reset, OTG support if you want to be able to turn that on. It does have OTG support via the USB-C port. Unfortunately, you have to turn it on. It doesn't turn on by itself. RAM boost, of course, we can turn that on and it's already in there. And of course, system update, as I mentioned, we are waiting to install this. This was basically just a quick update as soon as I unboxed the box. As far as about the phone, as I mentioned to you guys, 855 plus, 8 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of internal storage. We have the 48, 16, 12 megapixel triple camera setup on the back, 90 Hertz fluid AMOLED display, it is 6.55 inch display. The OnePlus 6T is the device, Android 10, model number is the HD1905, and it is going to be running the latest security patch update, of course. So for a quick audio sample, we're going to go ahead and play Alex Scrindo Jumbo for an NCS release. I have the volume set to be at the highest volume level. Absolutely, just absolutely amazing. The sound on this is extremely loud, definitely an upgrade from what we had last year with the 6T, and not only with the fact that we have a stereo speaker, but also a much better speaker on the top for the earpiece. Now, as far as the actual camera itself, as I mentioned to you guys, we have the new functionalities, we'll just say all the time for now. We have the triple camera setup, we have the wide angle lens, the standard focal length of 48, and of course we have the 2x optical zoom that we get here. As far as video, what we get into the video side, we can actually use all three again. Now this is a big upgrade. We have the ability of using the wide angle lens, the standard focal length, as well as the 2x optical zoom, and it is very, very nice. We have the ability of going all the way to 4K at 60 frames per second with the ability of turning on stabilization, and you're right there, super steady, but keep in mind, when you do turn that on, it does drop it down to 1080p. So no super steady, or the ability of stabilizing the video is not available on 4K at 60. On the front-facing camera, we only have the ability of doing 1080p, no functional options there. But let's go ahead and do a quick video sample from the front and the back sensor. But we are going to go ahead and turn on the super steady option because I'd like to see how that works. So we are using the brand new OnePlus 7T camera. This is the 48 megapixel sensor in the back. If you are going to use the stabilization, just be aware that you don't have the ability of picking whichever lens you'd like. It pretty much sticks to the 48 megapixel sensor and it keeps it at 1080p. If you'd like to be able to go higher, you just have to turn off the stabilization. When we opened up the camera application, I showed you that we had the ability of picking the three different lenses, the wide angle lens, the standard focal length, and the basically telephoto lens. Now, this unfortunately is only available in 1080p because if you try to go to 4K at 60, you only pretty much get the telephoto option. So right now I'm in the standard focal length, and without skipping a beat, I can switch over to the wide angle lens within the same video without having to actually stop it. And of course, I can go into the telephoto lens, the 2x telephoto, but I'm not sure if you guys want to be able to see that close to my face, but let's try it out real quick. And as you can see, this is definitely very personal. I definitely appreciate the fact that now we have the ability of using the different lenses on the back of our device whenever we're taking video, because that's something that we were missing within the earlier version of the 7 line of devices from earlier this year. Let's go ahead and switch over to the front-facing camera. So here we are, we're using the front-facing sensor on the brand new OnePlus 7T. Unfortunately, the maximum video resolution here is 1080p, so just keep that in mind. But again, the back sensors definitely have received a major update. The ability of using all 3 lenses in the same video is absolutely fantastic. And again, this should be a good example of audio and video with stabilization and with the different lenses on the brand new OnePlus 7T, which should be very similar to the experience you should get with the OnePlus 7T Pro. Now, one of the main cool things that they did talk about here is the fact that we have UFS 3.0 on this device. So the storage on here is definitely going to be upgraded. The vibration motor has been upgraded. We have better stereo speakers. The cameras on this are definitely very nice. And the fact that we can actually now use, let's switch it over, the 3 different lenses whenever we're in 1080p. And we have the ability of going to 4K 60 frames per second is always going to be appreciated. We have photo mode, of course. We can customize a different aspect of it. We, of course, have that macro lens that I talked to you guys about. Super macro could be turned on from right there. Portrait mode, which is similar. Again, we're using the different ones. We have just a slightly cropped view. We can turn that on. Nightscape has been upgraded, and of course, we have it right there. We have a Pro mode that also enables us to be able to switch over between JPEG, and then JPEG higher at 48 megapixel, or the RAW. So if you ever want to be able to use the full potential of your sensor, you just want to be able to go into Pro mode and switch over to JPEG at 48 megapixel sensors here, the resolution. We have panorama, slow motion as well. And as far as the slow motion, the highest resolution we're getting is 240 frames per second at 1080p. And of course, we have the additional options there for HDR, ultra-wide lens correction if you should have that turned on. And of course, you can customize the modes in which order they're showing. It's definitely very nice and very customizable, and a big upgrade from what we saw with the earlier version of this device, the OnePlus 7 earlier this year. Now, the last thing I'm pretty sure you guys want to see is the brand new cases that we have from OnePlus. The first one, we're going to go with the nice, this has basically always been one of my favorite ones. It's a very nice soft material on the inside. Of course, inserting the device will be pretty much very, very easy. And it does actually get rid of that little bump that we were talking before. So if we take off the device, you'll notice there's that big bump. And then once you put it in the case, that big bump is basically just gone. And of course, all the ports and everything, this is customized. And we have that OnePlus logo sitting right there ever so nicely. I personally like this case. I have always been a big fan of it. And if you definitely want it, this is going to be one of the main options available at launch. Of course, we always have the carbon fiber, the nice thin carbon fiber. It's always a very nice slim case, providing the best, basically minimum as far as protection. It still has that little bit of a raised bump, so that's something you want to keep in mind. Not as protruding as before, but it has opening at the bottom for us to be able to access the SIM tray as well as everything. And of course, the buttons on the right, on the left, as well as on the top. And no issues right there. Definitely one of their iconic colors, and of course with the OnePlus logo. And then last but not least is also another thin case, but this is the Sandstone Case. Again, one of their more iconic colors. It still has that little bump sitting on the back, and of course everything is open, similar to the one we have here. So as I'm finishing filming this video, I got an email with the latest and greatest as far as availability and pricing. So at least in the US, starting October 18th, it's going to be available for $599 off of OnePlus's website in both colors that I mentioned to you guys. And again, this is basically going to be right after the launch event. So the launch event, we'll hear about it, is on the 26th, and the availability will be starting the 18th of October. So my initial impressions of the brand new OnePlus 7T is, first and foremost, I missed the OnePlus 7 in the US. I did import it earlier this year. I even did a couple of videos for you guys. And I really felt like the OnePlus 7 had a certain niche market part of it that people would have liked. It didn't have the 90 Hz display. It didn't have all of the main bells and whistles of the 7 Pro. But what it did offer us essentially is a small upgrade, but a substantial feature upgrade to what we had with the OnePlus 6T. And that's basically the vibration motor, the ability of having basically stereo speakers with a better earpiece. There was a few other things that basically enabled people to want to go into it. I mean, the fact that we have UFS 3.0 now, and of course the ability that we had that with OnePlus 7, that was a big upgrade. That basically enabled us to have faster loading time, better recording, better access to data, and of course transfer rate of data between your device and of course your PC with the USB 3.1 supporting the USB-C port at the bottom. So my initial impressions, I think it's definitely a really nice upgrade. Look forward to some more comparisons, and of course I would definitely be testing that charging speed test that they talked about. 0 to 70% in literally 30 minutes is something that I would definitely like to check out on the brand new OnePlus 7T. Especially since that charger obviously is a charging, it's supposed to be the fastest charger that they released to date. Let me know in the comments below what do you guys think. Like and subscribe as usual. Thank you very much, and really excited, very, very nice, and look forward to some more stuff from us here on the channel.